Good day, everyone. Our topic is Full Research Report, Video 2. I am Professor Kishi Patricia Mere Somono, Nanda Azikiwe University. To recall that the video 1 of this topic is on research proposals. The video 2 is Full Research Reports. Full research report is done at the end of research activities. The language of proposal, which is future tense, will change to simple past tense for full reports. So in this video too, we shall discuss the very essential aspects of the full research reports that were not part of the proposal or that were not treated in details during the proposal presentation. So let's begin by talking about our formats. Recall that some universities have customized formats. For instance, now there's School University. They have what they call manual of style that encapsulates their formats. What is presented here is general format for full research reports in education. General format for full research reports in education, there are three major aspects: the preliminary pages, the body of work, the back matters or supplementary pages. So if we look at the preliminary pages, there are a number of subheadings. So the subheadings include title page, approval page, certification, dedication, acknowledgement, table of contents, list of appendices, list of tables, and abstract. So the body of work, the body contains 5 chapters. We have chapter 1, which is introduction, chapter 2, review of related literature, chapter 3, method, chapter 4, presentation and analysis of data, then chapter 5, discussion, conclusion, and recommendations. So the back matters or supplementary pages, there are 2 major aspects of it for projects or dissertation or thesis. There are references and appendices. So let's look at the first one of the major key aspects of preliminary pages, what we call abstracts. An abstract is a single paragraph summary of the entire research work. It contains the main purposes of the study, research questions and hypotheses, the population sample and sampling techniques, instruments for data collection, results, and at least 1 major recommendations. The abstract should not be more than a page. In abstracts, however, some institutions specified the maximum number of words for an abstract. Sometimes some group or institutions will say, within the abstract, you make a statement about the problem of study. So this is abstract. Then we know that we have talked about chapter 1, 2, 3. Then chapter 4, the subheadings in chapter 4 are results, findings, and summary of the results. For results, the results of the study should be presented following the sequence of the research questions and hypotheses. The empirical results should be presented in tables and figures with interpretation of the result immediately below tables or after the figures. You see that the table should not be repeated in prose, because that's what some people practice. They have the table and now come and repeat all the figures in the table. No, it is only the silent points, things that will make people understand the results that you talk about. Then the summary, the diagrams or the tables you are presenting, when they are too large, too lengthy, or too complex, you may not have them presented in the body. You take it to appendix and then have a proper title and numbering and a proper reference to the exact page where it is in the appendix. So that's what you have on chapter 3. Okay, let's recall about our proposal. You see, in our proposal, we talked about chapter 1, described all the subheadings, chapter 2, the subheadings, chapter 3, and so on. Actually, in the full research report, what we change is the language. It is the language from future tense to simple past tense. The rules and the practice of how to write those subheadings remain the same. So when you come for full reports, you now look at those chapters again and report them appropriately. So after the chapter 3, we have the chapter 4 and then chapter 5. Chapter 5 has the title Discussion, Conclusion, and Recommendations. The subheadings, the full subheadings, the proper for that chapter 5, we have discussion, conclusion, implications of findings, limitations, recommendations, suggestion for further studies. So let's take them bit by bit. For instance, discussion of findings. This section of the research pulls together all the attributes of the study. Taking information from the background, from the literature, and from the design. Discussion of findings should be seen as placing the findings in literature. What is the position of what you have found in literature? Are your findings similar or contrary to the previous findings? Whichever way, are those reasons for the deviation or otherwise? It is at the discussion of findings that in-depth interpretations of the results are articulated, giving reasons for the context that are counted for the results and the findings. So, conclusion. The conclusion should be concise and should directly address the major findings of the study. In writing the conclusion, the researcher should state their stand. Now that the research is over, you must conclude based on your work. Anytime you are concluding, you look at the focus of the work. Then we have implications of the findings. The implications of the findings bring out the value of the research in relation to practical situations. We have recommendations. Recommendations should be directly on the research carried out and the findings. Let's take, for instance, if a researcher has carried out an experiment to find out the effectiveness of concept mapping in teaching of biology topics. After the research, let's assume that there is a positive effect of this method. The recommendation should be that the researcher, that biology teachers, the researcher will recommend that biology teachers should use concept mapping in teaching biology, or that biology teachers should be trained on the use of concept mapping teaching. If the researcher comes and recommends that teachers should use concept mapping, it's not the proper recommendation, because we have biology teachers, physics teachers, chemistry teachers, teachers for economics, civic education teachers. You have not tested the concept mapping on them. So your conclusion and your recommendation should be based on your research and what you have found out. Then we have limitations. Limitations is one of the subheadings. These are shortcomings or weaknesses in the research design and execution of the research, which might have affected the results or generalization of the findings. So sometimes you see people will talk about time limit. They say limitation. They say there was time problem, I did not have time to do this one, I did not have enough resources. Those are not limitations. Limitations are things inherent in your collection of data, your use of instruments, inherent in the research that may affect or affected generalization, so that people will know when they're taking your results, they will take it with that limitation. Then we have suggestion for further studies. Topics suggested may be aspects of the present study which did not fall within the scope or boundaries of the present study. One of the ways of going about it, going about suggestion for further studies, is to look at your delimitation and extend the boundaries of the research. So we now have back matters or supplementary pages. There are references. Reference is a list of research work cited in the body of work. In education, latest edition of APA is usually used, but as I've said, some institutions have their format, and if you're reading in that institution or working in that institution, you use their format. Appendices. The appendices are supporting documents that are used in the research. Some of these are things like the research instruments, the instrument validation index, the population and sample distribution. Sometimes it's a large diagram or complex diagram that cannot be accommodated within the body. So it has to be kept in appendix and the proper references made. So what have you really done today? Or what have you exposed in this lecture and video? We have talked about full research reports. And full research reports are what you do when the research activity has come to an end. You report appropriately using the correct format or the format given to you to report all your activities. And as we have observed in education, we have three major aspects of it: the preliminary pages, the body of the work, and then the back matters or supplementary pages. And we have seen within the preliminary pages we have title page and so many of them. One of the important subheading and the preliminary is the abstract, very important. We now have the body of work that contains 5 chapters. Chapter 1 with all the subheadings. Chapter 2, literature review. Chapter 3, we have the method with also many subheadings, like the design, the area of study, the instrument, the sampling technique, method of data analysis, procedure for collection of the data, and so on. We have chapter 4 where you present your results, and then chapter 5 where we do the discussion, conclude, and recommend. So this is what we have done in this video. Thank you for watching.